Hello investors everywhere, Adam Hewison here with your market report for Thursday the 5th of September. Well, there's a little stock we're going to be looking at today that we think is primed for big gains. So we'll be looking at that stock. We'll also be looking at all the major markets, starting with the Dow, the NASDAQ, S&P, gold, and the dollar. So let's get started right away. We'll also be covering oil, which is of course in the news because of Syria. So let's get right to it and go to our portfolio. And starting with the indices, you can see it's a mixed bunch with the weekly trade triangle still red, which means you should be out of the market in these three markets. But let's take a look at the actual charts. So looking at the chart, we'll go to the 3-month chart right here. And you can see we have just broken above the parabolic. We did that actually yesterday, or actually the day before. But it looks as though it's struggling still a bit. And this gets back to our trading range of minus 55. So the big trend, the longer term trend, still positive in this indices. But the reality is the interim trend is negative. So mixed picture there. We're watching it very, very closely. On the S&P 500, much the same picture there. You see it's made that turn. And let me just take the volume off here so we can get a better view of some of the parabolic. Easy to do. Just click here once and it's done. One thing I'm noticing here is the MACD is beginning to turn. You see the momentum is really slowing here. And that's usually a sign that the market's about to make a turn. So we'll have to watch that very carefully. Let me just illustrate that in graphic fashion. So this is beginning to make a turn. You see how that, if this blue line right here crosses over there, then we'll see this market go higher. Also, you've got the parabolic working for you. The only thing I want to see is this triangle turn green. And I think that will be a good sign that this market has once again recovered and is headed higher. So let's wait for those things to happen. The MACD to cross over, the weekly trade triangle to turn green. And let me just illustrate that if I can in a more, let's say, green as opposed to red. So let's just watch that very carefully. And I think we'll be in good shape. So let's just take it off the screen, go to our next market. We're going to be looking at the NASDAQ, and you can see the NASDAQ has basically become very, very sort of flattened out. It's just moved sort of just going this way, building a base, hopefully, to go higher. But this is the big stumbling block right here. And we need to go over that. And I think if we can get over that, we're in good shape. So let's watch that very carefully. But again, you're seeing this flattening out. The momentum, downward momentum is slackening out. If we can get over the parabolic here, I think we're off to the races. But again, I want to see this one triangle turn green. So moving on to our next market. Next market is the Dollar General. We talked about that. We love this stock. And I'll tell you the reason why we love the stock. You've got everything going for it. And let me just illustrate that by going out a little further so you get the size of this is what's happening. So here's what's happening in our opinion. So I'm going to take off some of the indicators here, just make it simple as possible. But you have a major breakout on the upside. What Dollar General is doing right now is everything right. So you've got this huge base, big base. You've got this resistance line which comes in right across here, and that's at around 56. Market clearly broke over there. We're trading at 57.44, so we're broken out. Technically, this looks very good. If we measure from this point right here, 40 to, I'm going to call this 56. So it's 16 points from here to here. It's $16. And then we add $16 onto 56. That takes us up to a target zone of $72 a share for this stock, Dollar General, symbol DG. Also, you've got the MACD is turned up, so everything's working for the stock, and I think it looks really, really good on the upside. I'm not sure what would derail it at this point in time, but it's Dollar General. It appeals to a lot of people in that economic path, and I think it's a really good stock to own. So let's see how it plays out in the future. So this is the gold, and I'll get this closer in because I want to show you what's happening. This is still not looking good. Two things have happened in my opinion. And one is the longer term trade triangles are still negative. They've been negative from 1672, and look at the price now, 1368. So it's almost $300 ago we've been negative on this market, even when we've had the rallies. So let's take a look at what's going on. So the best tool to use, in my opinion, here is to use the Fibonacci, pull it from here to here. And certainly we'll be looking at these levels, the 1352 level and the 1334 level, as areas of support. The other thing I could see doing here is taking a trend line tool and moving from the lows up here, and you can see it intersects some very important Fibonacci numbers, and we'll have to see how that plays out. But I think it's going to come down and nest around here and then maybe try to build this base we've been talking about. The other thing to look at is a situation where you have the MACD has actually started to turn over, and that's not a good sign for this market, in my opinion. So I think you've got a lot of people who want to be bullish on gold, but it's just too early, and certainly the Syrian thing is not helping gold one iota. So let's move on to our next market. Next market is crude oil. Crude oil is being helped by the Syrian thing to a certain degree. We have a plus 100. You've sort of flattened out on the MACD, but the reality is this is, I think, just sort of building a base to go higher again. This is all really, I think, good support right here on these areas. So I think, generally speaking, I think this market can do better, and I think we're going to close over $110 a barrel. I think we're off to the races up to the 115, even 117 level. So let's see what happens there. But it's going to be obviously a lot has to do with the news and Syria. So let's just take that off the screen and go to our next market. Next market is the euro-dollar. This is falling. We talked about this big area up here. We talked about the 134 zone, if you remember that, right here. We delineated this as resistance. It certainly turned out to be that way. Now all we have to do is just measure our Fibonacci and take it from the highs, click once, drag it down to the lows right here in the July period, and you can see the areas we're looking at. 131, we're almost there. That's a 50% retracement. I would say the 130.25 level, 130.50 areas are very real area. This market's going to find some sort of support. Again, we're oversold a little bit and not too much. It's sort of flattening out a little bit on the momentum here on the MACD, but still too early to tell on that market. So let's watch that and watch those areas, the 130.25 to 130.50 area. So moving along to Apple, I'm just going to mention this very quickly. As you well know, Apple has a presentation coming up on the 10th of September to roll out some new products. They're also having, what's more important to the market, it's going to be what happens in China the next day on the 11th, where they also have a presentation. I think it's going to be with China Mobile. I think they're going to say they have something in common and they're going to be doing business together, and I think that's a huge, huge win for Apple, which exposes the iPhone to the largest mobile user group in the world. So let's watch that very carefully, but still trend continues positive. Remain positive on Apple. We see this market going to the 550, 560 area and possibly higher depending on the new products and the deal they strike with China. Hey, I'm Adam Hewison. Thanks for stopping by. It's been a little longer today, but if we'd love to have you comment on our blog, let us know what you think on Apple or anything DG or anything, any other markets we talked about today. We'd love to have your comments. So have a great trading day, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow with a weekly update.
You can find Adam Hewison as a regular contributor on Bloomberg, Business News Network, CNBC, and Fox Business News.